You've got to go to Facebook.
No, please.
Right.
It's good to go.
Ready? Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. This evening, we have an extra meeting. We have our annual Board of Finance Committee meeting to start off our meetings for tonight. I'd like to call to order of that Board of Finance Committee meeting for Wednesday, February 10th at approximately 7:07 p.m. And we'll start off with Pledge Allegiance. Thank you. Roll call, Mr. Troxel.
Finance.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. Kevin Conley,
Present.
Thomas Schmidt,
Here.
Robin Arvanitis,
Here.
Caleb Johnson,
Present.
Rob Getzloff,
Present.
Attorney David Austin, Fire Chief Robert Patterson, Deputy Fire Chief David Meyer, Police Chief Pete Somas, Deputy Police Chief Jeff Cook, Park Superintendent John Novosich, Neil Simstad, Nice Engineering, Jeff Hewitt, Public Works Director, Jim Gorman, Director of Operations, Robert Volkman, Town Manager, Robin Teal, Recording Secretary, and myself, Mike Troxler, Clerk Treasurer. All here, sir.
Thank you. First item on the agenda is the election of officers for the Finance Committee for 2021. I'll entertain a motion for the President of the Finance Committee for this year.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Getzlaw.
I would like to make a motion for Ms. Robin Arvanitis to be President of the Board of Finance for 2001-2022.
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. At this time, I'll entertain a motion for Secretary for the Finance Committee.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Getzlaw.
I'd like to make a motion for Secretary for Mr. Mike Troxel to serve as Secretary for the Finance Committee for the year 2021-2022.
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
may I suggest that you now hand the gavel?
Yes, I will. And at this time, I will hand the gavel over to our new President of the Finance Committee to continue with tonight's meeting.
Thank you. Next on the agenda would be approval of the minutes of the February 12th, 2020 public meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion approved 5-0. Next on the agenda would be new business.
Madam President,
Yes,
I do have some new business here.
thank you.
Finance Board members, each year, we're required under Indiana Code 5-11-10.5 is to void all checks outstanding and unpaid for a period of 2 years as of December 31st of each year. So going back to 2008, the checks that we're looking at voiding that are unpaid and outstanding are $4,357.34. So we need the Board of Finance approval to go ahead and void these items and put them back in the respective funds that they were originally drawn from.
Mr. President, motion to approve the recommendation of the Clerk Treasurer to void the checks. I don't know if I got the amount exactly correct, $4,357.47?
34.
34 cents.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Next on the agenda will be the Clerk Treasurer's report on investments.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. The investments for 2020, where the interest earned was $360,000, $672.65. This compared to the total from 2019. 2019 was $599,071.56. We have approximately a 40% decrease in our interest earned in all our accounts that we had for 2020. As you know, there was a big drop in the financial markets during the COVID of last year, and that's the reason for the decrease in our funds. All of our funds are in interest-bearing accounts, and so we're fortunate that $360,000 is able to be put in revenue into our funds for 2020. So we need an acceptance of that report for our investments.
President, I would make a motion to accept the report of the Clerk Treasurer on investments.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Next on the agenda will be the Clerk Treasurer's report on debt service.
Okay, thank you, Madam President. I have quite a few items here on debt service I'd like to report. The amount of principal and interest that we paid on our debt in 2020 was $4,647,555.57. The amount of principal and interest paid on leases in 2020 was $1,863,483.54. The principal and interest to be paid on debt in 2021 this year will be $4,595,668. The principal and interest to be paid back on leases in 2021 will be $1,646,008.27. And one more item, the outstanding debt that we have currently is $37,520,000 in principal debt to pay back, total debt. So, with that, my debt service report is complete.
Madam President, I have a question for Clerk Treasurer. I thought we were reducing the amount of our debt payment with the refinancings. Is that not accounted for yet in this calculation, or is that yet to be taken into consideration?
No. It's included in there. We did add debt.
I see.
We purchased a fire truck and an ambulance, so almost $1 million in debt was added
I see.
this past year on that. And that's included in the $37,520,000.
All right, thank you. Madam President, I would make a motion to accept the Clerk Treasurer's report on debt service as given.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Madam President,
Yes.
I do have some more items to report. They're not showing on here, but it's other items, if you don't mind.
Thank you.
We, in 2020, we did refinance a couple of our bonds, so I wanted to report on the net present value savings of those. We had a sewer bond that we refunded, and it's going to result in a net present value savings over the next 10 years of $394,915.69. We also refinanced the Shops on Main bonds in 2020, and that net present value savings over the next 10 years will be $928,615.55. So these were also able to be done with the interest rate environment that we had, which worked very well for us in 2020. And one other item I wanted us to mention, that in the property tax levy from 2019 payable in 2020, the tax levy was collected at 97.62%. So what that means is that we had less taxes that we received from what we budgeted for in 2020 of $294,952.45 that we received less in property taxes for 2020 than we originally budgeted. That completes my report.
Madam President, I'd like to ask Mr. Troxel a question. Mike, on the 97.2% on the property taxes collected, is there any possibility that more of that will be collected?
Yes, it could be. And in future years down the road, it could be collected this year on properties that did not pay. So we could get it in forthcoming years.
Thank you.
Madam President, I have a question as well. Mr. Clerk Treasurer, is that 97.62% of last year's collection, or is that 97.62% of the total collection?
That was the total of the property tax collection that we collected in 2020 for 2019. So 2019 payable 2020, that's where we ended up getting our collections. In July, we got a little bit more than in August because of the delay on that, and then we received in December of 2020 the balance of that. That netted out to be 97.62%.
Thank you.
Madam President, I have one more question for Mr. Troxel. And Mike, and comparable to the year before, I might have missed it, you might have said that, was 2019, wasn't it up into the 99 point something?
99.7 something was what we collected in 2019 from taxes that were due from 2018.
Thank you.
Do we need another motion?
No, we just
No,
have
we're
to.
good. Okay. Sorry. Thank you. Well, that would be all then. This meeting
Yes.
is adjourned. Thank you. And I would like to call to order the Waterworks Board meeting for February 10th, 2021. We've already had the Pledge of Allegiance and roll call. I'd like to let you know the Waterworks Board consists of 3 members, Tom Schmidt, Kevin Conley, and myself, Robin Arvanitis. The first item on the agenda for the Waterworks meeting are the minutes of the January 20th, 2021 public meeting.
So moved?
Second?
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. Next on the agenda would be claims. Are there
Well-
any additional claims, Mr. Troxel?
No.
Motion to approve claims?
Second?
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Claims passed 3-0. Next on the agenda are reports. Are there any additional reports, Mr. Volkman?
No reports.
Are there any additional reports from any council members?
No, ma'am.
No.
There is no old business. There is no new business. At this time, would there be any business from the floor? Is there any business from the floor? This meeting is adjourned.
Call to order the Redevelopment Commission meeting for Wednesday, February 10th, 2021. The time is 7:21 PM. We'll bring Councilman Rob Getzlaff and Councilman Caleb Johnson back into the fold for the Redevelopment Commission meeting. First on the agenda, the minutes of the January 20th, 2021 public meeting. Pleasure of the board.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Mr. Troxel, any additional claims?
No additional claims, Mr. President.
Pleasure of the board.
Motion to approve the
Second.
claims.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Any reports from staff?
No reports.
Any reports from council members?
None.
Hearing none, we have no old business. We have one item under new business. Consider approval of payment in the amount of $10,531.96 to Kelly, what's the correct pronunciation?
Mackey.
I'm sorry, Mackey, thank you, of Mackey Insurance Group, located at 27 West Joliet Street, for completion of the facade program. Mr. Volkman.
Yes, this was, project was completed last year. It was improvements to the front of the building. The total value of the project was $21,063.92. This is in conjunction with the committee's recommendation, so it's appropriate for approval here tonight.
Okay, very good. Any questions for Mr. Volkman? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Okay, that completes our agenda items. Any business from the floor regarding redevelopment? Any business from the floor? Any business from the floor? Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned.
Good evening. I'd like to call the Schererville Utility Board Commission meeting for Wednesday, February 10th at approximately 7:24 p.m. The roll call stays the same as the redevelopment committee. The first item on the agenda is the minutes from the January 20th, 2021 public meeting.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Next item is claims. Any additional claims, Mr. Troxel?
No additional claims, Mr. President.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second on claims. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Reports. Any reports from staff on utilities?
No report.
Mr.
Mr. Troxel?
Mr. President? Yes, just a brief report here on some activities in our office, if you would indulge me for. Last year was a challenging year with utility billing and so forth, and a lot of people having a challenge to make their payments. But going back, our staff in our billing department has done a very good job. One person in particular had a personal goal of reducing some of our delinquent letters that we had, and she started back in 2013. It was Chrissy Rush. And back then, they're averaging about 734 delinquent letters every month. We, at one point, we reached a height of 877 delinquent letters that we were sending out. But due to our diligence in being consistent with our shutoffs and enforcing our ordinance in place, recently she met a personal goal, which is a great one, of only 382 letters that had to go out. So we cut that, more than half in getting those out by our staff doing their job and making sure they make their payments, and our public works going out there and shutting off when they need to on people that are delinquent. In addition to that, we've also put together a payment programs, obviously during COVID that we needed to use it for because of the extending circumstances of people not working. But currently we have 9 people on a payment plan. The payment plans normally, under normal conditions, are for 3 months. We've extended it to 6 months during the COVID period. 2 of those are dropping off next month, and so we're almost down to, a manageable number regarding some of our payment plans that we have for our residents that were challenged by some of their finances. So that's all I had to report.
Terrific. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Troxel. Any other reports? Mr. Simstead, any reports from engineering? No report. Mr. Hewitt from Public Works? No report. Okay, any council members for utilities?
No report.
No reports. Okay, we'll move on to, there's no old business agenda. We have one item on new business. We have Mr. Ted Summer from London Witty Group here to do a report on presentation on the water and sewer utility rate. Ted?
Thank you. I have 11 copies of paper of each. Do you want me to pass them out, or do you want me to just sit here and you guys can disinfect them later, or what?
We can get someone to help you pass them out.
Can I take my mask off, or do you want me to leave it on?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Might want to turn his mic on for him.
Button on the side. Thank you. Definitely working. We were engaged to take a look at your water and sewer rates in a manner that's a little different than's been done in the past. There's something called a full cost of service study that should be done occasionally on water and sewer rates to determine whether or not the costs are being allocated to the appropriate classes. more important when you have a lot of different classes, like NIPSCO's, theirs is 40% industrial. I didn't find any industrial customers, just mostly residential. But we did this anyway, and I want to start out with sewer. I started out with the results because that's what most people are interested in. Your current rate for a sewer bill for a 3/4 inch customer for 5,000 gallons is $20.81. And for 10,000, it's $36.01. And after we were through with our analysis, we are suggesting that your current rate for 5,000 gallons of $20.51 goes up to $30.28. That's slightly less than a 50% increase. And for someone using 10,000 gallons, it would go up to $54.98, which is a little bit more than a 10% increase. And I will explain further. What is a bit striking is if you are looking at the proposed bill at 5,000, the percent, the increase-decrease column, you see that it goes down and it's a negative increase or a decrease as you get into the larger meter sizes. And it's same for 10,000 gallons. And the reason for this is because you have grown into a community that has far more residential customers than anything else. You got some commercial, but when this was last done, which I think was in 1985, there were not as many residential customers as there are now, and they have tipped the scale, so to speak. So most of the expenses associated with running the sewer utility are associated with residential customers. The next is table of contents, always a popular item. After that, we have, I have comparative cash receipts and disbursements, which you can see for 2018 and 2019 that aren't that far apart. Your receipts and disbursements net are larger, but a lot of that's because of the debt that Mr. Troxel was talking about being taken off the books and replaced with the surety bond. So I don't know if you want me to go through these one by one. If you want, I will back up. But for now, if you look at Exhibit A1, you will see that we have cash balances at the beginning of the year, receipts, disbursements, and those at the end. And the net cash flow is $895,000 to the negative, which is one of the reasons we're ending up with a rate increase. Now, what we needed to do was to go back and figure out how much St. John should be paying. Because if we don't know that, then we don't know how much they're going to contribute to the total revenue requirements, if that makes sense. I hope it does. And it's been 5 years since that was done, so we had to go in and take all the schedules for the St. John study, and we filled them in. And you will see the adjustments on Exhibit C are pretty much all related to that. We had pro forma payroll, which Jim Gorman helped us with a lot. Purchase power, engineering, sewer treatment expenses for the amortization of the cost. Well, the template has us doing annualized customers, and that's kind of a waste of time, but you did have a few customers added to the system. I think it was, well, can't tell from here, but it wasn't many. But we needed to do expenses and revenues associated with them, okay? Then we had to adjust insurance expense. And in my experience, that seems to be getting bigger every year. But then I guess, for our firm it is too. Perf expense, 17.5% of payroll. That's a pretty hefty chunk. And then we have the FICA and the other adjustments that go with it. Then we are amortizing the rate study expense over 2 years. And then there was a legal and additional engineering services that we adjusted. And then sludge expenses. This is all a template, and everything here has to be filled in according to our agreement with St. John. So some of them you'll see with zeros. That's because we had nothing to adjust. And payment in lieu of taxes, we actually increased that this year because your plant went up significantly. And your debt service requirement, that represents our taking out the debt and putting the surety policy in place. And then, according to the template, we had to put in depreciation expense and capital improvements. More adjustments, those are customer added. We spent a lot of time doing adjustments for customer added adjustments, but that's what the template said to do. And this is straight out of the template for St. John. This is taking all your expenses and splitting it between collection, system, treatment, billing and collection, and admin in general. This is how a cost of service study is generally done. And this is a pretty good one for the most part. So we add up all the expenses down to line 29, where we have total O&M expenses, then we allocate administrative costs to each of the other expense categories based upon the sum of their costs. And then that gave us total projected cash operating expense. Then, according to the template, we take 1 year's increase based on the 5-year average of CPI for Chicago, Naperville, Elgin, Illinois, all items for urban wage earners and clerical workers. So 0.9% is what we added on to those expenses. And that gave us adjusted projected cash operating expenses. And to that we added the improvements, took out the sewer tap fees, and had total expenses and capital improvements, added in debt service, took out old revenue. Again, other revenue. This is how the template said we had to do it. You'll see that I deviate from that in a little bit for the purpose of coming up with the cost of service for the town. And there's the allocations. Again, this is all part of the template. We had to say what percentages we used to allocate. Let's see, calculation of projected excess strength surcharges. If anybody or any customer uses their system to deliver suspended solids that are in excess of the amount that the EPA would consider acceptable, then they have to pay a fee. I don't think this town does that very much because, as I said before, you have mostly residential customers. So on Exhibit D, page 2 of 3, you'll see the amount of flow from the plant. And you'll see that St. John has 759,162,000 gallons of the total. And from that, we figure out what the suspended solids are, and those go into the ordinance, in case somebody out there's dumping pine sol down the system. And I say pine sol because that happened to the prison up at Peru, the Miami Cass Correctional Facility, and it killed the whole plant. All the bugs died. And I will never forget that. So that's why I say pine sol. And the next on Schedule 1, we have the summary of the allocations to St. John, and we calculate a rate of $1.85 a thousand gallons. And that's prospective, based upon 2019 numbers. So the next page takes all of the pro forma expenses and then allocates them again between all of the various categories, and again, gets rid of the A and G by spreading it over to the other ones. And then it shows again the 10.90% increase. And we do this because now we're going to make some adjustments that are specific to the study. You see there, that those are generally the O&M expenses. They are the O&M expenses that were shown on the previous page. Again, the allocation of the A and G, total projected operating expense, and adjusted projected operating expense. Go to the next page. That's where I start to jigger with it. I put the PILT back in. The reason I put the PILT back in is we had to take the PILT out because that's the agreement with St. John. They don't pay for any of our PILT. Then I put in the capital improvements. Those are the ones that were identified by your staff as being the annual improvements that they thought appropriate, an average of 5 years. So that's kind of a driver of this whole rate case, this whole rate analysis. And then we took the cost out for St. John, and that was $1,427,225. That is the cost that they should be paying for. And if you'll look earlier, they were paying about $140,000 less than the cost that they should be paying for, which is why we recommend, as you'll see in this schedule coming up, that the increase to the town of St. John sewer rate should be almost a dime, 1,000 gallons. So then I show the rate elements, and these are the elements that are added up to determine what goes into your monthly fixed charge and what goes into your volumetric charge. All right, and if you go down to the bottom, you see that I have taken the various elements and divided them by the appropriate number, like equivalent bills or gallons or regular bills. The equivalent bills are for collection expenses. Those get divided on a basis that's different from the billing and collection. That is a straight allocation, while the one for the collection costs are not. Those are done on the basis of equivalent meters, which I will show you in a minute. And then there's the cost of debt, and that in total is $1.59 1,000 gallons. So the billing and collection monthly fixed charge in total comes to $558. I think I showed 557 before because there's a rounding somewhere in there. And then variable operating costs and debt service costs, we have a variable rate of $494. And there's where I show the current rate, and I show the recommended rate, and show 47.65%. I tried to do it various ways by saying, okay, let's just keep the fixed charge where it is and see what it does to the volumetric charge, but it doesn't do much because you have so many residential customers that, as Dave Austin says, the juice wasn't worth the squeeze. It just would change it a little bit. Schedule 4, I show the equivalent meters and the annual bills. As you can see, there's equivalency factors there in the fourth column. Those are ratios of the size of the meter orifice to the base orifice for a 3/4 inch meter. And that is so that we can assign costs that should be variable with the amount or the size of the line when we apply those costs. And then, as I said before, the billing and collection is just done on the basis of straight monthly connections. And since you could see that there are very few of these greater than 2 inch, that there's just nothing there to help carry the freight. It all sort of bounces back down to the 3/4 inch customer. Now, this goes back to some more St. John. This is where it's calculated how much of the flow they're responsible for as far as inflow. And then the next page shows the amount of usage of St. John. So you could see that St. John has maybe 35% of the total metered flow. And then here's where we actually do the calculation of the rate that St. John should be paying. And that would go from 177 to 185. Oh, and the change in annual cost is $135,733. So that is a change worth making, because that's how much more you would collect from St. John if they were paying what we allocate to them through this cost template. The next page is the capital improvement plan. Yeah. This is the proposed capital improvements. Boy, I'm really glad there's 2 pages. The second page adds a lot to it. The sledge hauling dump truck and other things of fairly high price. And you can see then that the average is $815,300 a year. And you see, St. John doesn't pay any of that because the agreement has them pay separately for capital items. It specifies in there that if there's a capital item of significance, then the town's supposed to notify them. They're supposed to be given the opportunity to buy in and all that kind of stuff. The next schedule shows the residential charges that are charged by those who surround you. I put Schererville and then Schererville proposed in there. And I was kind of surprised when I looked at this. I go, well, you know what? They're still lower than most of the surrounding communities when it comes to the sewer charge, if they implemented the entire thing. We just put the one in place for Highland in December, and that was a 50% increase. Rates are sort of cyclical. They go like this, like a wave. Like they'll go up and then they won't go up for another 5 years, and they'll go up again. So I think it's time that this is done, in my opinion, okay? And the next I'm looking at is water. Water is not quite as problematic. Your current rates for a user of, I think he used a different number of gallons than I did. Okay, the monthly bill plus the tracker for 6,000 gallons is $30.57. And the result of putting all the numbers together, including taking St. John out of the equation period, as if we're not charging St. John for any water going forward. And that was a pretty big kicker. That made a difference of about $300,000, as I recollect, but I'll show you in a bit. So that's the amount of increase they're talking about, 4.96%. And then Bob, fellow who works with me, he was listening when I told him we ought to put 10-year operational analysis in. Analyses, he was listening, but I didn't do it. So what you have here is what it looks like your cash would be if you did nothing. And it goes down, but then it levelizes. And the next one is if you did put the rate in that he is proposing here, and your cash flow is better. And the proposed capital improvement plan for the water utility is an average of $469,500. I understand that there's a water tower down below, long-term projects list, and a ground storage reservoir, water improvements, southeast corner of town. Those all equal $11 million. That's all. If I put this in that, then they'd come hang us all, starting with me, if we tried to do that over 5 years. So I suggested that we just treat it as if we bond for it at some point, because that is much less impactful on rates. And it allows the future customers for the next 20 years, who this is being built for, to help pay for it through debt service. Then we have the various elements that make up revenue requirements. You have no outstanding debt. That is incredible. That is very, very rare. I once told the mayor of Kokomo that it was un-American not to have debt, because they didn't have any either. But they survived without the debt, so I should probably not say things like that. All right. Let's see where we go from here. We took the gross annual revenue requirements of $6.3 million and took out the rates that are not associated with metered customer revenues. Net requirements then are $5.1 million. Pro forma present rate customer revenues for $4.9 million. The net increase is $242,000, which is probably not too far from where I thought we might be. There have been a lot of changes since the last time you changed a tracker. On May 5th, 2017, some good, some bad, but a lot of them have actually reduced your purchase water costs. The Tax Act that was passed, whatever it was, 4 years ago. And by the way, it's probably going to be offset by going in exactly the opposite direction in the not too distant future, from what I understand of the current administration's tax package. So this takes operating receipts and disbursements. I would tell you that if you see number one, that's St. John, $423,000 of revenues. And I think most of 2 is also St. John. Yeah, it is. So with them leaving, you get about a $300,000 negative impact on your revenues, because you walk them through the rates like every other customer. Because I believe that was one of the caveats of their allowing, Indiana American allowing us to serve St. John, was that we treated them like any other customer. So there's that. Then here are the normal, relatively small adjustments other than that. Except for maybe 10. The non-recurring professional fees. I will tell you that we were bombarded by 5 or 6 or 7 different filings from Indiana American, and they all either wanted to raise your purchase water or reduce the amount that they ought to reduce your purchase water. And a lot of money was spent. And I can't tell you that I think it wasn't appropriate. Particularly, it wasn't mostly to me. It wasn't much at all to me. It was mostly just your outside regulatory attorneys and your consultants from Texas who came up and fought the cost of service study. So getting back to this, here's the consumer study summary, which we do to try to make sure that we have accounted for all the revenues. You should be able to take all of the units. In other words, if you have 1,000 gallons, if you have a minimum bill, you should be able to take all of that, price it out, and come to the actual amount that was charged for it. And if you can't do that, then you've got a problem of some sort. And as you can see, this came out very close. Calculation to test your minimum charges. Just those who are using less than the minimum bill. And allocation utility plant functional cost components. That's how you're supposed to do it according to the AWWA M1 version 7, which is what we used. Then we allocate plant to functional cost components. Then we break them out between the various elements that go into making the units of cost. Now, what we do is we attempt to use engineering ratios from that report to determine how much of your plant would be associated with each of the services. Like, you've got extra capacity, which is basically max hour, max day. The base is what serves during a regular day, and then you have direct fire protection services, and that's your sprinklers and your hydrants. So all of that is what is happening there. And this shows the percentages that we ended up with on each of the various plant. Plant is important because it tells you where your expenses are going as well, or at least it's a good indication. Then we allocated cost of service. That's the base extra method. That's how it works. And here is the current and the proposed rates and the revenue that should come from each of these rates if you put these rates into place. And this is a check on the other side to show that what you think they're going to do, they'll actually do, or they should do. And then we have public and private fire service that he was pricing out. And mostly these are just interim schedules. But as far as the current rates, he prices this out. He shows the tracker as separate. And I told him that if we put these rates into effect, the tracker's going to go away because it's going to be rolled in. But anyway, and there's the percentage increases on the minimum bills. The fire hydrant surcharge per month will go from $380 to $450. Private fire protection has got a reduction. We think that back in 1985, when this was last done, that somebody was advised that they needed to take a little money out of the fire hydrant surcharge, because back then it came out of the general fund, and put it into private fire protection. I couldn't prove it because I wasn't there. But if you do it cost of service related, the private fire protections go way down. The costs do. Okay. And then there was, this is some surrounding communities. Notably Hammond. They charge like, what is it, $6.26 or something now for a bill. But this is a reduced number of gallonage. Yeah. Right now, Hammond is proposing a 170% increase to its water bill, and they're proposing a 433% increase to Munster, Dyer, Highland, Griffith, and Whiting. And that's a battle that's going on in court right now. And I'm involved. Let's put it this way. The 5 towns, we're not going to get on any of that. So I think that about does it for the presentation. I'd be happy to answer questions. I hope it wasn't too confusing.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Summer?
Oh, it was pretty exciting.
Oh, Mike, this is what I do.
I know.
Nobody likes to hear that.
I
had our
have
full
one
attention.
question. Now I know why we haven't done this since 1985.
You've had increases, but there's been no rearrangement to allocate to the appropriate customers. And frankly, if you did this across the board, it wouldn't make much difference, right? Because they're all residential. But it's good to check every once in a while.
Mr. Volkman, do you have any questions for Ted?
No, actually, I'll work with Ted for summarizing this into a recommendation.
Okay.
Yeah, we've been working together on some of this, and I appreciate that assistance. Mr. Gorman in particular helped with the payroll template, which is just absolutely a bear on the sewer side.
Okay. Any other questions from the council?
I'll be in my office. If you guys think of questions, you can ask them. I don't have a problem.
Thanks, Ted, really nice.
Yeah, thank you, Ted.
Thank you very much, Ted. And Bob, you'll supply us with an updated report on it,
Well, we'll summarize.
summarized report.
Condensed
This was a
version.
complete rate study analysis, so it's very complicated. As you can see, there's a lot of documentation and support. We'll have a summary for consideration as to what actions we will consider in the future.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on. Next item on the floor, is there any business from the floor regarding utilities? Any comments or business from the floor regarding utilities? No business from the floor. This meeting's adjourned. We'll move right into the council meeting.
I'd like to call the town council meeting to order at 7:59 on Wednesday, February 10th, 2021. We'll accept the roll call from the utility board. The minutes of the January 20th, 2021 public meeting, the pleasure of the board.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 5-0. Claims, any additional claims, Mr. Troxel?
No additional claims, Mr. President.
Pleasure of the board.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries 5-0. Reports, Mr. Volkman, do you have anything to report?
No additional report.
Jim? No report. Mr. Hewitt? No, sir. I gotta look at those masks. John? No reports. Chief Sormas? Okay.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Tonight I have just two items to report. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, you're fine.
Last week at our Board of Safety meeting, we recognized Patrolman Scott Savage, who received an award from the Indiana Criminal Justice Institute. The Indiana Criminal Justice Institute presented 66 Indiana law enforcement officers with the state's first ever Traffic Safety All-Star Award. To be named a Traffic Safety All-Star, the officer must have at least 20 operating while intoxicated arrests during the 2019 year. Schererville Officer Scott Savage had 35 arrests for 2019. Combined, the 66 Indiana officers who received the inaugural award totaled more than 3,000 operating while intoxicated arrests in 2019. It's a significant number there. The Traffic Safety All-Star Awards program was created by the Indiana Criminal Justice Institute to recognize law enforcement officers who are going above and beyond to keep our roads safe by working to combat impaired driving. Thank Officer Scott Savage for his dedication to this program at the Indiana Criminal Justice Institute.
Excellent.
Very good. Thank you, Chief.
Chief,
One more item.
go ahead.
And last month, our animal control shelter initiated a volunteer program to help care for the animals while at our no-kill shelter, which is located at 548 Kaiser Boulevard. The program is at initial stages with the first advertisement going out with this month's water bill, inviting volunteers to apply for the program. The volunteers that apply will be required to complete our selection process, which includes a background check. The duties of shelter volunteers will perform include feeding, exercising, playing with animals, cleaning, administering medication, brushing, grooming, bathing the animals. The shelter volunteers will also perform administrative duties like answering telephone and filling out forms while performing their duties. The shelter volunteers will work under the guidance of Director Angela Malinowski. The shelter currently has 2 full-time employees and 1 part-time employee working there. The shelter hours are 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. with limited hours on the weekend. The shelter is a temporary home for the animals, and we are dedicated to providing the best care for these animals until they are placed in their forever homes. So if you have some extra time and like to volunteer and care for these animals, give us a call at 219-865-6994. 546-6992. Angela Malinowski will be able to answer all the questions, and also you can check us out on Facebook or on the town's website. So it's a new program, and I think it would add value to the current conditions there for the animals. Again, it's 219-865-6992. So if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them after this report.
Thank you, Chief.
Very good. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
I heard we're already getting volunteers applying.
There's some interest. The advertisement went out this month with the water bill, which I think yesterday we mailed out.
Probably got it yesterday or today.
Yeah, so it's starting to pick up a little bit.
Awesome.
We'll see what what comes out.
Well, I talked to someone yesterday. They said they were already applying, so that's awesome.
I haven't called, so I repeat that number.
Awesome. Thank you.
Chief Deputy Jeff Cook? All right. Chief Patterson?
Okay, from here, you guys able to hear me?
We'd rather have you come up, please. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good
I would
evening.
just like to report that the fire department responded to 363 emergencies for the month of January. 297 were EMS related, 66 were fire related, giving us a total of 363 calls for the month of January. I would also like to update you on the progress of the Safe Haven Baby Box. At this time, we are waiting for Safe Haven's signed contract to come back to us. Once we receive that contract, I will start moving forward with contacting the contractors for the installation of the baby box. I did reach out to 1-800 board prior to coming to the meeting tonight. They advised that they are still willing to do the installation for absolutely no cost to the fire department. So
Excellent.
I will be reaching out to the alarm company that also offered their services for free. But I said, like I said, I'd wait until the contract's in our hands so we can start moving forward and make sure we get everything written down and signed.
Very good, Chief.
So that's it.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Great
Chief.
news. Thank you.
Deputy Chief Myers?
Nothing to add.
Okay. Mr. Neal?
No reports, Mr. President.
Council members?
Nothing at this time.
Okay. I do have one thing this is a certificate of recognition. The Town Council of the Town of Schererville would like to recognize Miss Edith Coleman, a resident of the Town of Schererville, who will be celebrating her 104th birthday on February 13, 2021. So on behalf of the Town Council, we'd like to wish her a happy birthday, and tomorrow Mr. Volkman will be presenting her with this certificate of recognition.
Awesome.
104, we should at least clap, right?
Absolutely.
At this time, I will take any public comments regarding agenda items. Any public comments regarding agenda items? One more time. Any public comments regarding agenda items? Hearing none, we will close the floor. Under old business, ordinance number 1962 is an ordinance amending town zoning ordinance number 1797, as amended, the same being as ordinance classifying, regulating, and restricting location, height, area, bulk, and the use of buildings and structures, and the use of land in the town of Schererville for said purposes, dividing the town into district, and all matters relating thereto. This was tabled from the January 2021 meeting. Planning Commission case 20-12-19, location is 7095 Burr Street, rezoned from residential R1 to residential planned unit development PUD to include one or two family dwelling units. Planning Commission favorable recommendation 4-3.
Good evening, council members. My name is Ed Rechtenwall. I am representing Olthoff Homes and this petition for rezone. I do have a few handouts and a couple of slides I'd like to go, if it's okay with the president.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
We need a motion to remove this from the table.
Okay. We need a motion to
Remove it from the table.
remove
It
from
was
the
tabled
table,
last
please.
month.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion
Second.
and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Volkman.
Bear with me for 1 second.
Sure.
Okay, so we were here a couple weeks ago in regards to this matter, the rezone of this parcel. I just wanted to clarify a couple of points on the project after taking some comments from certain individuals. Some of the comments we did address with the Plan Commission, but I just want to make sure that these points are very clear with the council as well. So up here, you'll notice that this is the concept plan that was presented to you last month on January 20th. I'm really just showing this plan just to make the points on amenities, open spaces, entrances, things of this nature. I'll get to the updated plan, which is before you in a few minutes. But as part of our proposal on this parcel, we are including different amenities. Those amenities would be a trail system, that is represented by the red lines on this concept plan. So right here is 65th Street. We're proposing a connection to 65th Street. This would connect into the trails by Turkey Creek and the Erie-LaCoy Trail, I believe it is, on the west side there. So this red line represents a paved trail, an amenity trail that would have different exercise stations along the way. It would provide access all the way through the project site down to just north of Jaskula Lane, which would put people out into the Burr corridor. An additional connection would be made here as we cross the Turkey Creek lateral. That one would, again, wind through the community. We have it proposed here running through the cul-de-sac here, but eventually it would make its way down to Foxwood Park here in the southeast corner. So that is one of the bigger amenities that we're proposing. We do have others. We are proposing a naturalized detention facilities on this project. So now the current status of these areas, low-lying areas, are just kind of wet floodplain areas. We would turn these into naturalized detention facilities, similar to what's shown up here in the picture here. In addition, each one of these little red asterisks represents something else that we'd be adding to the project. In particular, just here at the intersection and on the east side, we'd be providing kind of a viewing station or sitting area represented by the photograph here. And then we would also have gazebo or shelter structures located and in connection with the trails and certain open spaces. And we're more than willing to cite those and work with the council or whatever, or staff on putting those in certain locations that make more sense. In addition, as mentioned, we have 3 entrances onto Burr Street. Each one of those entrances would receive a entrance marker. Our main entrance marker would likely be located here on Phillips Road and Burr. It would be something similar to this or in this style of concept. And then we would provide secondary markers at Jaskula and then also at 65th Street. Those would be something a little bit smaller in size, but would still set out the community. Other items that this conceptual plan shows is the landscaping. So we intend to heavily landscape the site. We would be providing, well, there's common lots proposed along Burr Street. So the residential lots do not back up all the way to the right-of-way there. So there would be a common lot between the lot and the right-of-way line, which would allow us to provide landscaping, berming, to detract from the rears of the houses. So that would be the proposal for Burr Street. You can see we have larger common lots here at Jaskula. So that outlot would be landscaped as well to provide kind of an entrance area. We would do the same thing here at Phillips and Burr, and then up here again at 65th and Burr. We have outlots that can be heavily landscaped and provide necessary screening from the road. This is now the plan that I handed out just a few minutes ago. This has been worked on a little bit, and now we are down to all single-family detached homes in the proposal. We have a variety of 60, 70, and 80-foot wide lots with a new lot total of 205 total units. That's down from 209 on that previous plan. We also have enlarged or provided more space in some of these outlots that are adjacent to Foxwood to provide additional screening, landscaping, open space for that area of the project. One other thing I would like to mention, and just want to make sure everybody understands, is that we are proposing a homeowners association across this entire project. So all common lots, trails, all those amenity features would be administered by a community homeowners association. The community homeowners association would be responsible for maintaining those items. In addition, the blue areas represented on this drawing would be a separate or sub-association to that community. The reason being is that these would have maintenance-free offering to them. So snow removal would be taken care of, lawn care, fertilization, and things of that nature, which helps maintain value in that section. Other things that are included in our homeowners associations, they're established from day one. So the minute we have the first sale, the association is put in place. That basically allows residents to start paying into the association, become familiar with it. We in turn subsidize it through its life until we're ready to turn it over. We hire a management company, so Olthoff Homes doesn't handle any of the financial aspects of the management company, other than we do help them with contracting maintenance companies and things of that nature for common lots, the maintenance-free product, things like that. Generally, we provide certain inclusions into our covenants and restrictions, things like no RV or boat storage or parking on any lots in the roads, things of that nature. We do have a violation process which is in line with the state of Indiana's homeowners association requirements. We also provide architectural standards throughout the community that are reviewed, that must be reviewed if any changes are contemplated by a homeowner. In addition, we do restrict certain types of fencing. We do not allow sheds. So the fencing standards would be put in place on this community as well. We only allow PVC style fences. We also try to keep uniform color, so we allow tan and white. And then we also have other options like open picket along common areas, which keeps those open spaces kind of open. And then if homeowners see fit, they can also install kind of black aluminum. All of this helps maintain the values within the community, brings up the value of the community. And so this is included in the proposal. At this time, I just wanted to make sure that those points were addressed, and I'd be happy to answer any questions or take any more comments from the council.
Any questions?
No, not at all.
I have a question.
Okay.
You said that the common lots behind the single-family homes to create a buffer, I think you were talking along Burr Street, is that going to go all the way along Burr Street, or is that only the green lots?
Nope, so there is a common lot proposed along the entire frontage of Burr Street, and you can see it, it's a little bit difficult to see. Again, these are concepts and layout plans, but as we get into other drawings, they'll become more conceptualized. The white space here between this kind of dashed line and the green is the common lot on the north end, again here, in between the dark line and the blue. So there is a common lot proposed the entire north-south frontage of Burr Street.
Yeah, and what width is that lot?
I believe this is shown as 25 feet.
And that's going to be landscaped in order to create a natural barrier
Correct.
between the road and the backyards.
Correct.
And then I also had a question about the covenants. Is there something in there that requires only owner occupied as opposed to rental?
We can't fully restrict rentals due to state law, but we do provide standards in there which only allow 85%. So we do try our best to limit rentals within the community.
I thought I had remembered seeing that somewhere, okay. And then you have also in your design plan that you had previously distributed, anti-monotony, I think is what it's called?
Yes.
And I guess I'm just curious, is that applies to neighboring homes? Is there a chance, I know I've been through subdivisions, particularly in recent years, that seems like all the homes look the same to me, all the same color schemes, and I know that's dictated by the buyers to some extent. Is there a chance that we can create a little bit more of a buffer, maybe 2 homes or something like that, that would allow a little bit more room to seek variety, so to speak?
We can work with staff on seeing what we can do to manage that clause. Now, our current one has one on either side, one directly across the street, and then diagonal, we still do put restrictions on, I think, facades, though it can still be the similar model. But we're more than willing to work with staff or the Plan Commission on trying to come up with a little bit better language for that as well, if necessary.
Last question, why so many villa lots? I mean, if we're in a R1 residential zoning area, that's what you're current zoned, why so many villa lots? Is there an intention to stuff more homes into this area? What's the reasoning?
It's not density. We just feel through the entire process in our conceptualizing of the property, we try to match zoning. We try to use transitional zoning when putting together a layout. The villa homes tend to front very well with what would be in Prairie Estates. It's a detached home. It's a smaller ranch-style home. It's a slab product home. Those areas that we're kind of depicting here kind of lend themselves toward that. Also, from a geotechnical standpoint, they're going to be a slab. And so that's really more the reasoning for the villa-style home. It's not necessarily about density.
The yellow lots are the 70-foot wide lots. Are they going to have basements?
Those are, right now, not predicted to have basements, no.
So all the yellow lots and all the purple lots are going to have slab homes.
Correct.
And the difference between the size of the lots is 60 versus 70 foot.
Correct.
Depth is the same?
Yeah, yes. And again, the smaller width for the villa homes is also part of the maintenance package management for the HOA. It's a little bit simpler for a management company to manage a 60-foot wide lot than it is 70-foot wide. I realize it's 10 feet, but every bit makes a difference.
Maintenance-free is optional, it's not required as part of the purchase.
I'm sorry?
I said the maintenance-free is an option.
It is not an option. Not in the villa-style homes, no.
So the villa-style homes are all maintenance-free?
Correct.
I thought that was an option.
It's nothing is optional as far as the association goes with this community.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Schmidt?
I have a question for Mr. Volkman. Mr. Volkman, all of this description that Ed's given us tonight will still have to be filtered through the Planning Commission, correct?
Well, they'll review it because the zoning is the first step. The zoning, the conceptual plan, certainly there's none of the engineering is complete for this, so all of this will go in front of the Plan Commission again.
And then potentially it would come back to the council?
If there's a significant change to the PUD that would require, public meetings and approval. If there are minor changes, the Plan Commission can make that determination.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion.
Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to allow the rezoning from residential R1 to a residential PUD to allow only single-family detached dwellings.
We have a motion.
Mr. President,
Mr. Austin.
would you also consider adding, based upon the presentation materials made and submitted supplementally tonight by Mr. Rexnall?
As part of the record, yes. It's part of the motion tonight.
Yes.
Okay. All right, we have a motion.
Clarification, you said detached, single-family
Single-family.
detached dwellings.
Dwellings, yes.
I'll second.
Question, please, Mr.
Yes, go
President.
ahead.
Just for clarification, so what we're saying is PUD, but R1.
No, that's not what she's saying. She's saying this plan right here, all single-family homes that he's proposing, the villas, the 70-foot wide lots, and the 80-foot wide lots.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Mr. President,
Mr. Austin.
but that is a PUD. That was the application that was made. Those are the conditions on this PUD that have been presented to you that you're considering tonight.
Right.
So,
So all the details that were just mentioned are
Right.
part of this parcel, and the zoning district classification the petitioner filed and sought to have approved.
Right.
These are the parameters the Plan Commission will end up working with.
Yes.
that, Mr. President,
Yes, Mr.
Mr. Austin, so the petition in front of us, though, is to rezone from R1 to include 1 and 2 family dwelling units. And the motion on the floor eliminated the 2 family dwelling units.
Correct. That's exactly right.
Okay.
And before tonight, you didn't have the drawing and supplemental revisions that were presented. Those items are inclusive also.
Okay, and like I asked Mr. Volkman, the developer will bring this development back to the Planning Commission to work on the proposed development.
They have to work on the subdivision plat and the site plan. That still is at the Plan Commission completely, and that will be the subject of another public hearing.
Pure cottages are out. That's not what you said in your motion.
Let's just clarify.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The motion that she made included the pair cottages?
No.
But they should not, right?
No paired cottages.
No, there
Pardon?
is
No paired.
No paired cottages.
So we're-
paired
yeah,
cottages,
we're
all
eliminating-
single-family
Single-family
detached.
detached.
So everything is single-family detached?
Attached.
Okay, I just want to make sure we got the right motion. All right, so we do have a motion,
And my second.
and we have a second. We'll call for the vote. Mr. Johnson?
No.
Mr. Conley?
No.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Ms. Robin?
Yes.
And I will vote yes. Motion carries 3-2.
Thank you, council members.
Okay, let me get this down. Under new business, Resolution 2021-2 is a resolution authorizing lease purchases of vehicles for the town of Schererville, Lake County, Indiana, and all matters related thereto. Mr. Volkman?
Yes, this is a resolution for the 2021 lease purchase agreement. This will include new squad cars and the equipment to equip those, the new fire engine that's we've authorized, that we're following up on the contract from 2019, and also there's some, I think, some other equipment for the Public Works and Parks Department mowers. And I think that's about it, isn't it, Mike?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Pleasure of the board.
Motion to approve Resolution 2021-2.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Resolution 2021-3 is a resolution approving a memorandum of understanding between the Village of Sauk Village, Illinois, the City of Chicago Heights, Illinois, the Village of Fort Heights, Illinois, the Village of Linwood, Illinois, the Town of Dyer, Indiana, and the Town of Schererville, Indiana, for the 2020 Invest in the Cook Program and all matters related thereto. Mr. Volkman?
This is in relationship to the Plank Trail Connection study. John can maybe expound on it, or Mitch Barloga's here from NERC. John, you want to expound on what actually is going on?
Yeah, this section is between the Pensy Greenway going west to Dyer and continuing under Route 30 through Linwood to the Old Plain Trail in Chicago Heights.
Turn the mic on, John. Up. Pull it out.
So we've always had
It's not
a
turned on.
concept of,
On the side. There you go.
sorry, we've always had a concept of connecting eventually to the town of Dyer if they went ahead and developed their part of the trail. And on a broader regional scale, we were looking at making a connection to the system in Illinois. This agreement right now, or this memo of understanding, is a feasibility study that we would not be paying anything into. It would be funded through NERC. Mitch, you want to maybe elaborate a little bit more on the study, but basically Cook County has awarded some communities and villages in Illinois $300,000 to do the study. Our involvement would be through NERC, and Mitch could elaborate a little bit more.
Yeah, thank you, John, and thank you for bringing us here. And so as he was talking about, we are partnering with communities in Illinois, South Cook County. They received a $300,000 grant from Cook County to do a feasibility study. NERC is joining this up to $50,000 to cover the communities of Schererville and Dyer, so we can complete the Old Plank Road study from the Pensy through Dyer all the way out to Matson and the Old Plank Road Trail, which currently exists as a 21-mile facility from Matson all the way to near Joliet. So again, as John mentioned, there is nothing that we're asking for financially, but we would like your approval as well as Dyer's. I'll be in front of their council tomorrow night, and hopefully we can have both of you on board so we can work with you on this study. And also to bring on the consultant for the study, we're hoping to have that hired by late spring and probably by late this year or early next year to complete the feasibility work, to see how this will work and connect our states together.
Very good. Any questions? Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
motion to approve Resolution 2021-3.
Okay, we have a motion
Second?
and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Consider
you,
approval of payment in the amount of $10,531.96 to Kelly Mack of Mackey Insurance Group, located at 27 West Joliet Street, for completion of the facade program. This was brought up at the redevelopment commission, so we just need to vote again on it. All
Motion.
those in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry, I didn't get a motion or a second.
Motion to approve.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Rob's ready to get out of here.
Consider acceptance of LPA consultant agreement between the town of Schererville and DLZ, Indiana LLC, for design of Kennedy Avenue from Junction to Oak Street. Mr. Volkman?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is the start of the first phase for us, second phase of the project, to move it from the environmental study to the design phase, which is a great milestone for us as a community and for this project. Trish Nugent is here from DLZ if you have any questions concerning the progress on this project, but this would be the logical next step, is to move into design phase and property acquisition for construction that is contemplated for 2024.
I don't have any questions, no.
Does anybody have any questions for her?
No.
No? Okay. Thank you, though, for being here.
Thank you very much. We're very excited about the project.
So are we. Pleasure of the board.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr.
I move,
Schmidt.
I move to approve the considered acceptance of the LPA consulting agreement between the town of Schererville and DLZ of Indiana LLC for the design of Kennedy Avenue from Junction to Oak Street.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye. Nay.
Okay. Motion carries 4-1. Consider acceptance of attorney contract between Burke Constanza, is that how it's said?
Stand.
And Carberry LLP in the town of Schererville. Mr. Volkman?
This is the annual contract from Burke Costanza for their services to the town of Schererville, Plan Commission, BZA, Park Board, and Board of Safety.
Pleasure of the board.
Move to approve, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Consider acceptance of engineering contract between Nice Engineering and the town of Schererville. Mr. Volkman?
This is the annual contract for Nice Engineering, was named town engineer for your consideration tonight.
Move to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Consider acceptance of a fire service contract between St. John Township and the town of Schererville for the year 2021. Mr. Volkman.
This is the annual service contract for providing fire services in some of the unincorporated areas of St. John Township. Kathy LaRue, our township trustee, is here if you would have any questions for her, but this is a pretty standard procedure every year at this time.
Does anybody have any questions for Kathy?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Schmidt.
Bob and Kathy, is the price the same as last year, or did it increase, or?
It increased by $500.
Yeah.
So the agreement is basically the same as last year with the increase in the price of 500. And then there is a line item, an item for reporting. And so in the agreement, it's just being requested that the fire department just, and the chief gives a report quarterly just to know how many fires or anything being tended to in unincorporated areas. And that's the only difference. Everything else is the same.
Very good. Thank you, Kathy, for coming out tonight. We appreciate that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I have a question. Our area, it doesn't include the entire unincorporated St. John Township, right? It's only a certain part?
It's certain areas. Bob would be able to tell you what our service areas are.
We're off like Colfax, off of 73rd, is one of the areas over there, and
They have the same agreements with St. John and Dyer.
I was going to say St. John serves their unincorporated
unincorporated,
area.
correct.
Dyer serves theirs, okay.
And
Yep.
then Lake Hills.
And then there's,
Okay.
Any other questions?
And just so you know, we did meet, I met with the fire chiefs and with the 911 director back in 2019, the beginning. And they all, went through exactly what areas would be covered, and they all agreed upon that. And it's still the same this year as well.
Excellent. Thank you again.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
We have a motion.
Second.
Any other questions? Discussion, I mean? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 5-0.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Kathy.
Consider approval of donations for $50. Mr. Troxel?
Yes, Mr. President. We received a donation in the clerk's office from a Ray Alford, a Visa gift card, in-kind donation, $50. And that was the total donations we had for the month of January, is $50 in that gift card.
Excellent. Thank you. Pleasure of the board.
Motion to approve
Have a
claims?
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Before I open up any business to the floor, I do have one more thing. We'd like to congratulate our secretary here, Robin Teal. She just became a grandma. Baby girl. Congratulations. At this time, I will take any business from the floor. Any business from the floor? Any business from the floor? Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned. Have a good evening.
heat locker in here, Mike. Might not start dripping. Tough budget here. We might have a